Good morning, everybody. I'm going to be talking today about the reporting in Microsoft Dynamics 2013 using SSRS, which stands for SQL Server Reporting Services. The target audience for this webinar is any GP customers who has got GP, is using GP, and they want to know more about reporting and how they can leverage GP reports efficiently. And it can be also for people who just want to know a little bit about how to build a report in using Report Builder, how to modify an existing report that comes with GP. So anybody really, it's on a very basic level, and I'm going to cover mostly the fundamentals of it. The prerequisites for this webinar users are expected to have a functional reporting services. So SSRS should be installed on one of the servers, and SSRS can be installed as part of the SQL Server installation. So it's expected that you have that configured, and your IT team would be able to do so. So get in touch with your IT team if you don't have that already done. The GP server should have like an instance of GP running, Microsoft Dynamics GP running on it. And it would be helpful if you have working knowledge of Dynamics GP. And if you have Report Builder 3.0 installed, that is preferred, but if not, that's fine as well. So the overview for today's webinar, we are going to cover how to deploy GP reports using SSRS, and we'll be looking into customizing reports in GP, and then we'll move on to create a new report using the Report Builder. And then we will be importing this newly created report in GP, so to speak. And then I'll cover a little bit about the security of the report and who can view them and how we can make that work. So the few buzzwords that we'll be using is SSRS and Report Builder. SSRS stands for SQL Server Reporting Services, and it is a tool that helps you create reports, deploy reports, and manage reports in any organization. I mentioned that already, but if you want SQL Server Reporting Services installed, it comes with SQL Server installation, and you can enable that choice when you're installing the SQL Server. The other thing that we'll be using today and take a look at is Report Builder. It is a tool. It is a preferred tool for the business users who really don't want to get into Visual Studio for creating a report. This is kind of a light version, but it is feature-rich. You can build really functional reports with it, but this is preferred by the users where you can design the reports. You can use graphical reports. You can create charts and a lot of other things. The installation for Report Builder is free, and you can just look it up online on the net and then download it from Microsoft's website and do the installation yourself. So that's free of cost. So I'm going to start with how we deploy GP reports to SSRS. Now, many of you must be aware of this, that GP comes with around 260 or more SQL reports. These reports are ready to be used, and they can be used right out of the box, and they don't require any kind of modifications. So these reports are out there for us to use, and I'm going to show how to take reports out from GP. So right now they come with GP. They are inside GP. You can see them on the dashboards, you can see them on the home pages, and by deploying them using SSRS, what we are going to do is essentially take these reports out from GP. So I'm going to, for the webinar today, I have two machines with me. One has got GP installation and other has got the reporting services installed on it. So I'm going to hop on to the GP box. So this is the home page for GP 2013. I'm going to go on the top menu, pick Tools, Setup, System, and the Reporting Tools Setup. You need to come to this screen and configure the settings in order to deploy the report. Now, the deploying can also be done at the time of installing GP. It is part of the GP Dynamics utilities. You will be presented by the screen where you would be asked, do you want to configure it for SSRS? And you can do the same thing there. But if you have not, you can always come back in GP and configure it using the reporting tools setup. So I'm there, and there are two places, there are two tabs here, reporting services and Excel reports. We're going to concentrate on reporting services. The report server mode, if I open the drop down, has got options like SharePoint integrated. If you have not implemented, change it to native. Native is what we're using for today's webinar. The report server URL and report manager URL, these two URLs can be obtained from the SSRS or the reporting server where you have SSRS installed. And I'm going to take you there real quick so that I can show you where to see these URLs. I'm going to jump back to my SQL SSRS machine. You can open Reporting Services Configuration Manager. So just that is kind of a configuration setup screen, which will let you configure your SQL Server reporting services. And that's going to be present on the machine where you have SSRS installed. So just go to Start and start typing that, and it will be there. Once you open that, it just tells you the instance name, and there's some information, what database and what is the server mode. Here it's native, and that is the reason I have picked native from the GP Reports Tool Setup screen. Now here, if you go to the web service URL, there is a link. It's called Report Server Web Service URL. And there's another place that you'll make a note of is Report Manager URL. And that's the link. So these two links you have to copy and put it back in the Dynamics GP reports. We'll put it back in the Dynamics GP reporting tool setup screen. The report server URL and report manager URL. Once you have those two entered, here is the place where they say CRM connection information, and we are not going to use it right now, but this is the place where you can put your CRM credentials if you want to integrate CRM data in the reports, and it can be done. I just said we're not going to cover that today. The deployment options here is going to list out all the companies that are there in GP. And do you see the green tick mark? That's because I've already deployed it once. But if you have not, you will see the red cross mark. So you have to pick, you have to click them and pick those companies, and then redeploy option, and then you can click deploy report. I'm going to join. Okay. So rightfully, as I expected, there is going to be an error, and that tells you the deployment has exceeded maximum request length allowed by the target. So, and it also, this is a good type of error because it tells you how you can fix it. It says set max request length to 20690 in web config of the deployment and try again. So I left that out purposely so that we can cover this in the demo. You can cancel out of the screen and then go back to the SSRS server. And you have to browse to the web config file where after installing the SSRS, you have to go program files, SQL server, in reporting services, MSRS 12.MSS SQL server, reporting services, and report server. So this is where you have the config file for the SSRS, and that needs to be modified. So you right-click it, say Edit, and then you scroll down till you find the place where you have to modify HTTP runtime execution time equal to 9,000. And they have suggested that we put another property up there. It's called max request length equal to 20690. So I'm going to modify this file, put that in there, save it, close it, and we're going to go back to the GP machine. I'm going to again go to Tools, Setup, System, Reporting Tools, Setup. And then this all is already filled. Pick the company I want to deploy the reports for. Redeploy if you have already deployed, and then deploy reports. It's going to deploy the reports. It's trying to connect to the external reporting location. So while it's progressing, it's going to deploy all the reports to SSRS. So while it's doing that, let me talk a little bit about the advantages of why would we really take these reports out of GP. One of the advantages is that these reports will be available for non-GP users. Now, sometimes you really don't want people to open their GP. You don't have, probably don't have enough licenses, or you have people who are non-technical, don't want to deal or don't have any financial knowledge. They just need to have access to just one report. And all these people, they really don't have to log into GP to run the report. These reports are available outside. And these reports are really can be leveraged in multiple ways. You can have your SharePoint internal website, company website, hosted on SharePoint, and you can add like a web part that is going to show all the GP reports. So simply people can go to the internal website and run the report from there. Another use could be if you just want to give the URL of the reporting server, they can directly browse to the machine itself and run the report from there. And then you can use it in a website outside and expose it. And there are multiple uses. These reports are not any different from the reports that you develop for any website. So they're out there, they can be used. That's a pretty good thing. Uh, so the deploying is going on. We did not receive that error, and hopefully the deploying will be all successful. And once it is done, I'll take you back to the machine and show you where the reports are deployed. So back to the presentation. So it does say that uh, the advantages that I just spoke about, it has the advantages are listed out here. This should be fairly quick. It takes usually a couple of minutes for all the reports to deploy. And there are many reports. Once the reports are deployed, we'll see that there are reports which are categorized for company, and then there are reports that are specific for like multi-companies. So it's going to get data from all the company databases. And the new thing that GP 2013 has introduced is KPIs. So the reports are more graphical in nature. There is pie charts, there is bar graphs, and there's different kinds of graphical reports that can be used. The other, going back to the reporting tools setup, is another tab for Excel reports, and there is a lot you can do there as well. This is not covered in the webinar today. We're almost there. Deploying is going well. Okay, deployment is done. I'm going to say OK on the screen, and I'm going to take you back to SSRS server. As you can see, all the reports are deployed on the server. And the link up here, RADF reports, is coming from the URL that we stated here, RADF report server and reports. This is basically a page where you can look at the reports and you can manage reports. This page is provided by the reporting services. So the organization of the report, like I was saying, is CTI is the company database. So if we go there, inside there is various reports for sales, purchasing, things like that. Sales, inside that, there's a list of reports. And then there's another folder called charts and KPI. A little mention here about that special folder is all these reports are the legacy reports, so to speak. They are the older reports that Microsoft Dynamics have always sent out with GP. Now, charts and KPIs are the newer reports, and these reports are more graphical in nature. It can have the pie chart kind of a thing. Also, if you are creating a new report and you want to use it to import back in GP, you have to make sure that the report is saved inside the special folders, charts and KPIs. Along with the database folder, we have data sources that is imported as well. I'm going to really quickly change the connection string here to use SQL authentication. And I'm going to do the same for the other data source. Okay, now let's run one of the reports. I'm inside the company database, sales, and I want to run customer information. Okay, so this is the customer information report that shows there is a total of 124 pages. It is giving us information about all the customers in database, and you can go back and forth with the page numbers. The customer number, if you put the start and end as one particular customer, it will print it out for a single customer. So this is the report that comes with GP, and now it is available for us to run outside GP. So if you want your employees to run a specific report, you can simply give them this URL, http the machine name reports. And once they come here, and if they have correct permissions set up, they can view the report and they can run the report from here and not inside GP. That's one thing that I wanted to cover in today's webinar. So we just finished deploying GP reports to SSRS. Okay, now we're going to talk about how to modify existing report or create new reports. So inside Microsoft Dynamics, I'm on the home page. Right now my home page is blank. But there is a way in GP 2013 where you can put reports here, especially the KPI and chart. Okay, so I opened the Customize this page link on the top right corner of the screen, and then I selected Business Analyzer and show me all the reports. What it's going to do is make a request to SSRS and tell SSRS that give me all the reports that are linked to GP, that are coming from GP. And the list in the available reports is going to list out all these reports. I'm going to pick, you can pick anything. I'm going to pick top customers by YTD sales. You can insert it in there, say OK, and OK. And this report is up on the home screen. I have to refresh the home screen to make it appear. And since it's going to run the report, it might take a little bit. There's a lag there, but you can see the report is up there. It's going to it is showing us top 5 customers by YTD sales. Now, this report can be modified using Report Builder. Right now is a good time to introduce you all to Report Builder. There are a couple of ways you can get there. If you have it installed on your machine, you can simply open the report viewer from here. Or if you hover over this report, there are options that start showing up. View report, edit report. So I'm going to pick that, edit report. What it is doing is, there was momentarily a screen that says verifying application. So what that is it's click once deployment. So it's going to check if your machine has Report Builder installed. If not, it's going to go into the internet and get that and install it for you. um, and then open that report into Report Builder. This is that report. I am going to change something very simple, like the color of this chart. So I'm going to go to Series Properties, Fill, and pick another color. Let's say I pick teal or something. Now it's lime green. I'm going to save it on the top. And that's all it takes. Your report is modified, saved, and deployed to SSRS. If I go back to GP, and I have to refresh the home screen, and you start seeing the changes to the report that's already in GP. So it's that easy to modify an existing report. We just modified it to something very simple, but you can add fields, you can add more information, change the title. Really, the sky is the limit for that type of modification. Another way of attaching reports or modifying reports is on the windows or the forms in GP. So I'm going to go to Sales and I'm going to open Customer Card. And just pick a customer. Okay. On the top right-hand side, there is Print command and a small drop-down that is going to show us all the available reports. Right now, there is none. But there is an option where you can assign reports to this window. And this brings the screen which is familiar to us now. It is making a request to SSRS and it's telling the SSRS, give me all the reports that is related to GP. And you see all the reports in here. I'm going to pick customer information. That is the one that we saw running in SSRS. Customer information. Once you select that, you can insert it and say OK. If I go back here, there is an available report, which is customer information, and it is the default one. So if you have multiple reports, the one on the top is the default one. If I want to run that report, all I can do is say print, and it is going to SSRS and running the report for me in the browser. This is the same report that we saw, except it is not producing it for all the customers. It is picking the customer number of the selected customer. So once you have this report running, you can save it, you can export it to PDF, you can save it in Word, Excel. There are all the options available out there. Another thing that I would like to mention is when you are assigning reports, you have to make sure that they are making use of the parameters. I did not have to do anything explicit to pass the customer that is selected. It is all picking up from this report has got a parameter, and it is picking up from the selected customer. So it makes sense if you cannot just put a vendor information in there because there is no vendor associated. You just have to be careful in making a choice of what reports you want to allocate to this screen. That's another way of doing it. Okay, so I did talk about modifying existing reports in GP, and we saw how we can modify the home screen and include a report up there. You can use it, you can edit in Report Builder and see it reflect the changes momentarily. There is no explicit deployment that you have to do. Then we saw how you can attach a report to any windows or forms in GP. Um, Now I'm going to show you how you can create like a new report in Report Builder from scratch. Okay, so once you open Report Builder, it's going to present you with the screen where you can make a selection of what you want to do. You can start with new report, and then there is different options you can pick from: the table or matrix wizard and chart wizard and map wizard. All these things uh, are very helpful in making beautiful reports and full of information. And this would be a separate webinar in itself, just building reports. But we'll start with the blank report. We want something very simple. Okay, as soon as I hit the save, it is asking me where do you want to save the report. And the place where you want to save the report is sales, this customer report, and charts and KPI. Because here, all the reports here can be imported in GP. So to specifically put it in that folder, charts and KPIs. Okay. And then on the left-hand side, that's where you can configure the report data. You can add parameters, but just keep it simple. I don't want to add parameters. It's going to show me everything. But if you want to like sort it or order it or just print the report for a single customer, then that's the way to go. You can add parameters. Images, we're not doing anything with images now. Data source, I'm going to add a data source. So the report would need a data source, and we're going to connect, we'll just call it data source. Okay, there are two options you can use. There is already an existing data source that is deployed with the reports, so I'm going to use that one. I can test the connection and say OK. And then we're going to create a data set. So data source is going to connect your report to a database. But data set is something that would collect the data specific to the report. So in this case, we want customer list. So all I need is a customer table. I'm going to call it as a sample data set, and I'm selecting use a data set embedded in my report, and I see the data source that we just created. It's the sample data source, and you can select it from a table, store procedure, anything. I'm going to, or you can use like a query designer to build your query. It's going to ask you for credentials to connect to database. And this is going to show you list of all the tables in GP. I am going to pick the customer table and just a few fields. Let me pick all the fields. Okay. It's just going to pick all the fields from here. You say okay. So the data set is populated with all the fields that you want to see in the report. Now that data is available for you to throw in the report. Now pretty quickly I'm going to insert a table. And then the table comes with header and data, and I'm just going to pick a few fields. And I can run this report here and see the result. Okay, so this is all live data. So I'm fetching all the customers from the table with their addresses and cities. So this report is out there for me to use. And one of the great features of GP 2013 is you can leverage these reports in different places. Once it is in SSRS, you can really use it anywhere. So you can put it on the home page, like I showed, you can customize this page. And then in the list from here, you can put it here. But I'm going to show you how we can also put it on the card, the customer maintenance. We already have the default customer information. I'm going to assign another report, and we called it as sample, so it should be somewhere here. Okay, sample customer list. I'm going to insert it here. If I put this on top, then that's going to be the default. I'll leave it there. Now, when I go here, I see the customer information as the default, and there's a new report which is called sample customer list. So I can run that report, and it's going to go back to the SSRS. This is the link up there, and you see the report. It can be exported or saved, but this is how you can also import a new report inside GP. So we did talk about how we can modify an existing GP report, and we just saw how we can also create a report from scratch and import it in GP and put it anywhere on the home screen or on the windows and forms. You can add parameters to it, you can sort it, group it. Really, there is no limit to it. In the default reports that are run, like the SOP reports and POP reports, if you want to have your own company reports, you can do the same thing. You can deploy it, make changes to it, or you can just simply replace that report and have the GP print out your company-specific reports. Okay, so this slide talks about that, how you can add it, and how you can use your own reports instead of GP default reports. Since we have a few more minutes, I want to quickly talk about the security. Okay, so the SSRS uses Windows security. It uses Windows authentication. Now there are different places where you can add security so that users are able to run the reports and view them in Report Manager. So one of the places is adding it in Report Manager. And you can come here in, you can add certain securities here so that people have access to this and they can see the report. But this security will only cover the part for seeing the report. They might see the report, but when they run the report, they will get access denied. The other place that you need to put the security is in the database itself. So I'm going to open the SQL Server, and this is something that your IT person can do inside. Now this is the database, the company database that comes with GP. And then inside there, there's security, users, and you can have a user here and then give access to the user for certain companies. These are two places you can play with security. So that's all I have for the webinar today. And if you have questions, we are going to have a little Q&A, and I will try to answer your questions. I'm going to hand the mic back to Alex.
I have a question for you. How can we utilize GP reports in Dynamics CRM?
Okay. Yeah, that is one of the ways that can be done. In CRM, you can have GP reports inside an iframe, and then you can put that inside CRM. That's a way of doing it.
Okay. Does anybody else have any questions at all?
Is Report Builder installed on the server, on the workstation? Okay. So I have another question. Is Report Builder installed on the workstation on the server? I would say it has to be installed on the workstation. And again, you don't have to worry about that because the click once deployment will take care of it. So when you are in GP, and you hover over this and you see edit report, it's going to do a little verification. This launching application little window, that's going to verify that if your machine has got it. If not, it's going to go to the internet and install it. So as long as you have permission to edit the report, the report builder will be installed and opened. I hope I answered your question. Okay, do we have any more questions? I'm going to quickly go through the slides and see if I missed anything. And while you guys, just think over, and if you have more questions, we are still taking questions.
Yeah, don't be shy. If you have any questions, go ahead and ask them.